At this time, I'd like to welcome Dr. Kevin Byram. Dr. Byram is co-chair of our Research and Fellowship Committee and also is president-elect of the VF Board of Directors. And I know he's been on vacation, so welcome, Dr. Byram.
Yes, so I was excited about this session. Thanks, Joyce, and thanks, Dr. Merkel and Christine and Jen. That was an awesome look at the VPPRN, which really kind of meshes well with some of the goals, well, many of the goals of the Vasculitis Foundation. I just wanted, the Vasculitis Foundation does so much on the side of patient education, patient advocacy, getting the patients together, the symposia, the webinars, and all the educational materials. But a really big portion of the VF is also funding opportunities, not only with fellowships, but with research and the funding, and ultimately the establishment of what we call vasculitis centers. And so this session here is really to highlight two of our young vasculitis clinicians and investigators, and to give them an opportunity to talk about their work. We are very excited by both of these because, the VF, when you learn about the history of the VF, you learn about how it started as a grassroots organization, and it really built from this kind of local to a regional to national. And it's really evident that we have an international reach now, and both of these clinicians and investigators highlight that. So without further ado, we have Dr. Kenana Yassin and Dr. Sebastian Satui. And I'm really just going to kind of moderate some question and answer with both of them. Are Dr. Yassin and Dr. Satui here? I can see Dr. Yassin. Hello, Dr. Yassin.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey, Dr. Satui, how are you?
Hey, how are you doing, Dr. Byram?
I know Dr. Satui is actually taking care of vasculitis patients today. So
I'm on the consult service. I'm on call this weekend.
Yeah. So we very much thank you for your time. And so I guess I'll just open it up to Dr. Satui first. What made you first interested in vasculitis? Tell us the story.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I think there's always, for most of us, and there's that one first patient exposure that really kind of gets us hooked. I think I remember clearly when I was doing a clerkship when I was still back in medical school back home, down at Birmingham, seeing the first EGPA patient ever. And I just remember kind of the diagnostic mystery that had implied, the delay that had been, what had led for the patient to be admitted, and how swiftly the rheumatologist came in and said, I know what this is. And that communication with all the other teams and the coordination of care, I think that to me was striking. I think, as Dr. Merkel pointed out not that long ago, I think as clinicians, as investigators, we're all fascinated by these conditions. I think that more patients I saw, I started also getting fascinated by the patients in the community, which I have been fortunate to become part of in the past few years, as a fellow and now as a faculty in my center. So I think there's that kind of interest and passion that I see both in investigators and patients that have completely kind of kept me very interested in growing in this field.
Very good. Dr. Yassin, how did you first become interested in patients with vasculitis?
Yeah, it's almost the same story. During my, I remember first year of internal medicine training, was taking care of a very sick patient who unfortunately passed away because of complication from vasculitis. And then being trained at Cleveland Clinic, I had the opportunity of doing some elective rotation here. So I was exposed more to the vasculitis field. And then I participated in a retrospective chart review study looking at the recurrence just thromboembolic events in patients with granulomatosis with polyangiitis. And honestly, I was really terrified. The more I'm looking in the chart, how sick they are, I'm like, oh my God, someone is having diffuse alveolar hemorrhage and kidney failure. And the more I'm looking in the chart, it's fascinating. And then at the same time, I was really impressed and amazed by the physicians taking care of them. It does take a lot of efforts for the doctors and a lot of time to take care of them, coordinate care. And even after clinic hours, I see phone encounters from all of the doctors. So after that, through the residency and fellowship training, I became more interested in vasculitis, and I decided, I think this is what I'm looking for. I think this is really combines base aspect of medicine. It's challenging in terms of treatment and diagnosis. At the same time, it's very motivating and rewarding because, you are saving someone's life, you're impacting their life in a positive way.
Very good. My story is very similar. I remember the very first patient with vasculitis I saw in the ICU when I was an intern training. And I think that's another, if you can zoom out of this whole thing, it always comes back to a single patient and the interest sparks. And then we get support through institutions like the Vasculitis Foundation to further training and then really establish centers to take care of these patients. It's an awesome cycle. Dr. Satui, tell us a little bit about kind of the work that you've done with the team that you work with there in Latin America.
Great. So that is actually a new initiative that I've had, like this ongoing interest, and certainly supported by this Joyce and Kaylin in trying to pursue this, because I think we have an amazing, and this is even more, reassured by the fact when you go to something like the Vasculitis International Workshop and you meet with colleagues worldwide. It is an amazing community, far beyond just the boundaries of the U.S. And we have the opportunity to keep growing, to keep helping patients way kind of far away from where we are physically. So the work that we're trying to pursue right now with a lot of Latin American colleagues is an effort to also disseminate education and patient incorporation into just research activities or just impact care of patients. Is we're working in a series of educational videos about vasculitis in Spanish, which of course are going to be impactful for patients in the US as well who are Spanish speaking. And of course I'm biased because I'm from Latin America and I'm also Spanish speaking. But this will be also an opportunity to start collaborations with physicians who are interested, who are actually have research ongoing in Latin America and just keep the vasculitis community growing. We have the fortune of the structure of the VCRC in the States, certainly all the US sites as well. And I think this just needs to keep going. And I think the Vasculitis Foundation, as much as there are certainly other foundations, has the opportunity to also like push and support any initiatives, which I know this is just for every single patient with vasculitis. So that will hopefully be a successful first set of materials that will end up in more kind of videos, more interactions with patients and Spanish-speaking patients in Latin America and the US and beyond, and hopefully lead into some other initiatives as well.
Very good. That's very interesting. Dr. Yassin, tell us a little bit about your clinical and research interests in vasculitis and kind of where you might be in the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah. So in terms of research, I completed 2 major projects so far. The first one looking at the long-term renal outcomes in patients with hydralazine-induced vasculitis, and then the other one evaluating the correlation between patient-reported outcomes and disease activity measures in patients with granulomatosis with polyangiitis. And it's fascinating how, patients, they were able to predict their relapses and their disease flare a little bit ahead of time of the physician themselves. It's very interesting finding. In terms of future research, currently I'm doing one looking at the COVID-19 outcome in patients with ANCA-associated vasculitis. And I have a special interest in IgA vasculitis in adults, since we don't have enough data about this disease. I know it's very rare. Maybe we don't see it a lot comparing to giant cell arteritis and granulomatosis with polyangiitis. However, really, it's challenging in terms of treatment. Like if we see like renal involvement, we don't know what is the best treatment for these patients. So I'm kind of interested in looking at this population. In terms of clinic, currently I'm at Cleveland Clinic right now. I see general rheumatology patient and I see vasculitis patients. I'm very interested in educating patients, educating family primary care physicians and medical students and even internal medicine residents, how do you early recognize vasculitis? We were talking about delayed diagnosis today. And how do you care for these patients in general as a human being, as like multidisciplinary team approach? It's not only about the vasculitis provider. They do see a lot of other doctors, nephrologists, pulmonologists, primary care, and sometimes primary care, they are the main physician who coordinate care for these patients. So I think educating them is something very important.
Very good. I had a few slides I wanted to share. Let's see here. The Vasculitis Foundation works really hard to further the care of vasculitis patients. And again, I mentioned that we do this through educational materials. But I just wanted to reiterate this idea that the Vasculitis Foundation also improves the lives of vasculitis patients through research and ultimately fellowship training and vasculitis center establishment. Joyce and the staff have come up with these figures for me to share. And this is over the span of a couple of decades, from what I understand, but about $3 million has gone to fund 28 fellows in 32 countries. And that is through either the Vasculitis Foundation's own funding or in partnership with the Vasculitis Clinical Research Consortium, or the VPPRN. And this is, there are folks like Mike Putnam that we've supported in different other ways, but or that have worked with the VPPRN. But these are the so-called vasculitis fellows. And I just wanted to point out that we're only highlighting two. I mean, Dr. Satui has gone on to establish and direct the center there at University of Pittsburgh, and Dr. Yosina is at Cleveland Clinic, and we're very excited to see where she goes throughout time. My trajectory is very similar, where I got funding and support through the Vasculitis Foundation and established our vasculitis center there in Nashville, Tennessee at Vanderbilt. So, with that, or do either of you have any closing comments just about kind of what the Vasculitis Foundation support has meant and kind of where you see yourself going in the future?
So I would say that again, the three of us, I guess we're biased, right? And in the right way. So we have been supported by the VF. I think the VF has been critical for us in getting the training under experts that has actually put us in a position to either where we got trained or in a different place start trying to impact the care of patients with vasculitis and at the same time contributing not only to clinical care but to research that will eventually lead to the outcomes that we want for all our patients. So I think it's besides that, I'm always I think inspired by patients within the vasculitis community. I've always enjoyed working with everyone in the VF, whether it's through initiatives like the Latin American initiative for the Spanish video materials, or working through the VPRN with our project in the Vasc Strong project and the patient partners, or patient partners in other settings as well. So I think it's been critical. It's been super important. I think it's a model that is important to start creating more vasculitis centers, to actually being able to provide care and even expand the knowledge on vasculitis, whether it's from the creation of new knowledge or actually educating our colleagues as well.
Very good. Dr. Yosina, any closing comments?
Yeah, I did my rheumatology fellowship at Cleveland Clinic, and from the beginning, I tried to see as many vasculitis patients as possible. But however, without, I think, the support of VCRC and of course my mentors at Cleveland Clinic, with doing the extra year of the year of vasculitis fellowship, I think I wouldn't be very comfortable treating various systemic vasculitides. I think the year of fellowship I did expand my knowledge and skills in managing different forms of vasculitides. It did allow me also to be familiar with the literature and the studies. So without their support, I wouldn't have done it. In the future, I'm hopeful to open a large vasculitis center in Cleveland Clinic, Abu Dhabi. I need a little bit of time, I believe, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah, that is just wonderful. I mean, I think that was why we wanted to speak with both of you, is just to demonstrate the reach that vasculitis fellows have. The last slide I showed, I mean, we have all these different countries represented, and then to talk about opening a center in Abu Dhabi is just it gives me chills to think about it. But thank you all both for joining us today and highlighting some of your interests and strengths and commitment to these patients with vasculitis.